So if we start, I'm guessing Mr. Tudor will join us. All right, we will call this meeting of the Palmer City Council for January 9th, 2024 to order. It's 6 o'clock. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Councilmember Tudor.
Here.
Mayor Carrington.
Here.
Councilmember Moline. Here. Councilmember Alcantara.
Here.
Councilmember Cooper.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti. Here. All here.
Okay. If everyone could stand, and I'll ask Mr. Andre Jackson to lead us in the pledge.
First of all, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I want to say Happy New Year to the city of Palmer. I'm glad to be here tonight, and it's a blessing. So with that, to pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And he's the one I always say, when he's in the room, I'm always jealous of his hat. I don't have any hat that compares with that.
We'll buy you one, but it's all original.
Maybe when I retire. All right. Next is approval of the agenda. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Moline.
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Councilmember Best.
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor.
Yes.
Mayor Carrington.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti.
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay. Next we have elected officials in attendance. Mr. Smolden. I know you're not an elected official, but you're here representing one. If you want to grab that mic, I think it's already on.
Yes, thank you. Not an elected official. My name's Todd Smolden. I represent the governor in the Mat-Su Valley office. Wanted to say first, thank you. I am very thankful that my office is in Palmer, in the city of Palmer. I love being able to walk different places to get lunch on a nice summer day, and sometimes even on a not so nice winter day. But it's you have a wonderful city here. I wish I could attend more often. I live in Willow, so sometimes that makes a little bit of a late night. So, but thank you for being here and the work that you do. The governor wanted, this is a special day in Alaska. It's a Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in Alaska. And as most of you probably know, law enforcement and public safety is a huge priority for Governor Dunleavy. If I were to list his top three, it's probably first or second, 1A or 1B, and that is to have a state where it's a safe place for people to live and for families to be raised. And so I'm here today to present the governor's proclamation to the law enforcement officers who are in attendance, but just in general to the City of Palmer's law enforcement agency and all who work within that department. And so I'll just go ahead and read the proclamation, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
because his proclamation speaks best. Whereas protecting the safety and well-being of all Alaskans is the first priority and highest calling of the state of Alaska, and it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties and responsibilities of their law enforcement officers and agencies. And whereas we recognize the sacrifices made by the law enforcement officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect our families and communities, defend the values we hold dear, and enforce the rule of law. And whereas the mission of law enforcement requires officers to have the ability to act courageously and quickly, to make effective decisions while under immense pressure from imminent threats, to run toward danger instead of away from it, and to act with empathy and compassion while serving others in their greatest time of need. And whereas our state law enforcement officers are faced with the unique challenges of Alaska's vast landscape and harsh environments, and regularly overcome these obstacles in selfless service of people all across Alaska. And whereas the state of Alaska and its citizens are honored to stand by the law enforcement professionals who are our everyday heroes, including Alaska's local police forces, the state of Alaska troopers, wildlife troopers, park rangers, village public safety officers, and correctional officers, and lend our wholehearted support to them as they continue to dedicate themselves in service of our communities. Now, therefore, I, Mike Dunleavy, Governor of the State of Alaska, do by hereby proclaim January 9, 2024 as Alaska Law Enforcement Appreciation Day in Alaska, and encourage all Alaskans to honor and show appreciation for law enforcement personnel and the role they play in preserving the health and safety of our communities in the last frontier. And signed by the Governor, January 9th, 2024. So thank you very much.
We get to keep that? Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Careful on your drive out there. Next, going in with that is we have the swearing of the Palmer Police Officer Mike Lynch, promoted to sergeant, and a new Palmer Police Officer, Chris Gonzalez. So Chief, if you can come forward. In the last few years, the chief was trying to come up with ways to kind of get the police force a little more involved with the community and recognizable for the community. And he came up with this idea of, why don't we do swearing-ins at the city council meeting? It's like, very good.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to invite our new police officer, newest addition, Christopher Gonzalez, up. Go ahead and come on up. Go ahead and face the audience.
This is an actual swearing in.
I'm going to say a little bit about Chris before we get started here. Chris comes by way of, started his law enforcement career in Texas, where he works as a police officer there for 4 years. He worked for Department of Defense for a year after that, and then worked 14 years with the FBI, a lot of which was up here, if I'm not mistaken, and took a little hiatus to work on family business and stuff, and then decided he wanted to finish his career here in Palmer, and we're happy to have him. So, without further ado, go ahead and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to uphold and defend
to uphold and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
and laws of the state of Alaska.
and laws of the state of Alaska.
I will enforce these laws
I will enforce these laws
with both vigor and compassion.
with both vigor and compassion.
I will maintain the courage
I will maintain the courage
to withstand
to withstand
unethical pressure
unethical pressure
and to face fear and danger.
and to face fear and danger.
I will hold myself
I will hold myself
and others accountable
and others accountable
for our actions
for our actions
and answer to the people we serve.
and answer to the people we serve.
I will never betray my badge,
I will never betray my badge,
my integrity,
my integrity,
or my character,
or my character,
and I will guide my life,
and I will guide my life,
both on and off duty,
both on and off duty,
by the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
by the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
Gonzalez. Wait a minute. You gotta sign it.
There's always paperwork.
Always paperwork. Go ahead and
always
sign
paper.
right there.
And then Chief, we have a promotion.
We do have a promotion.
Okay. And then I've got a proclamation after that, and then we'll take a little bit of a break.
Okay,
So
sounds
people can
great.
congratulate.
Next, I would like to invite up newly promoted Sergeant Sergeant Lynch and his wife. So, I guess Officer Lynch came to us by way of UAA, and prior to that was with the state of Washington, and has had quite the career, and has worked for us for the last several years, and then was recently promoted as a sergeant in November of 2023. So, to make this official, we'll go ahead and have his wife pin the sergeant badge on him. Sergeant Mike Lynch. I would also like to recognize retired Chief of Palmer Police, Tom Romelli, and I would like him to come up and get his picture taken with Sergeant Lynch. Thank you.
All right, one more thing, and then we'll take a break. So, Mr. Jackson, I've got a proclamation for you. Oh, you're not going up on yourself, huh? That's a, okay. Very good. Okay. A proclamation recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas Dr. King's teachings can continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges in our communities, and Dr. King described how hate is too great a burden to bear, I have decided to love. Whereas millions of Americans have been inspired by the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to serve their neighbors and communities on the King holiday. And whereas serving on the King holiday is an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, bring our citizens together to strengthen our communities and nation in honor of his service and the 38th anniversary of the Day of Service that celebrates his life and legacy. And whereas the King Day of Service is the only federal holiday commemorated as a National Day of Service and offers an opportunity for Americans to give back to their communities on the holiday and making an ongoing commitment to service throughout the year. And whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our communities better with increased opportunity for all our citizens. Now, therefore, it's proclaimed by the Mayor of the City of Palmer Alaska does hereby recognize that Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a day of service in the city of Palmer and call upon citizens to pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through participation in community service projects and on this day and throughout the year. In witness thereof, January 9th, 2024.
You know, I'm forced to say something right now. We have come a long ways, but there's a long way still to go. Unfortunately, there's still something in this valley that we are combating. Which still makes our work not necessarily enjoyable, but reasonable, because Dr. King talked about all people, and we're part of this dream. Our theme for this year is plant a seed, help the dream move along. We're going to be at the Glen Massey on the 15th, the Glen Massey Theater, and those who don't know where that's at the Mat-Su College on the north side. And we have some dynamic speakers this year dealing from disaster to mental health to employment, as well as what's going on in Juneau as for the schools. So I advise you to bring somebody with you, because we're not just doing it just for show. We're doing this because it's a needed purpose for our community. And so only you guys can help us make the dream come true. Thank you.
And now we'll take a 5-minute break so you can congratulate all the various peoples here.
Michael, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I got to the point, yeah, where I kind of like, and I honestly, I asked a lot of my girlfriends, like, what advice do you have? And most of them were like, don't stress about it. And I know sometimes I'm like, I just can't turn it on. But it's almost from that, it's like, when the day comes, you're not going to be able to do somebody else is thinking about those decorations you first, you know. So I'm just like, they don't look that way. We have, I can show you the hours. Oh, and I also, you know, be very yeah, there's been a lot at the airport that I've been into the past couple weeks. So Dave's, Dave and his, no, I don't. I went to school. Oh, you're serious? He is a little bit. That's the first let's just and so he actually just made in and so we just kind of go around and saw, the assets and I wanted to see what's going on, what they're struggling with, and what they can see. And it's just, And I honestly don't know what the first step would even be.
Okay, your iPad? Your iPad. Good.
Hey, this is
Yeah,
Sarah.
it makes
Just
it look
listening
better
in.
like that. It's like beer goggles.
That's not really what you think when you think.
What does this do?
Okay, I triple dare you to do that. I triple dare you to do that to Steve.
This is Sarah.
I know.
You're the only one brave enough.
Sarah's gonna test her.
Is Sarah there? Can she hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, I heard her on the TV.
Can you hear me?
Kind of quiet.
Can you hear me now?
Sarah, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you
Barely.
hear me?
She's gonna try to blow us up.
Turn me up? Okay. I can hear you loud, so
Okay, well,
can you hear
I'm,
me?
Is that better? Yes?
it's a little bit better.
Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you can hear it, can't you? Okay, try it again. Say it.
Hey, this is Sarah. Can you hear me? 1,
Okay.
2, 3.
All right.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you all. I'll go back to mute.
Thank you. All right, we're back in session. Sorry, we were just testing, our attorneys attending remotely, so. Next we have reports, city manager's report.
Good evening. Happy New Year. I'll be brief tonight. Legislative session in Juneau starts January 16th. Right now, there is a budget proposal from the governor, $14.1 billion. Current 2024 has a surplus of $400 and approximately $50 million surplus, but that mostly will change when they have to make some budget changes. One thing I like to do is encourage a couple of our city council folks who've not been down to Juneau to please consider doing that. It would be good for you to have the experience, meet the legislators, but kind of see how, from that perspective, how the state legislator works. And we do have AML coming up, but that is not the only time to go. We do have, Mr. Best has been down there, Mr. Cooper, and of course, John has been spent half his life down there, and he's got stories he'll tell you. They would also be helpful to you, but please consider going. I'll give you a good perspective on how our state operates from the legislative perspective. Also, too, it's my understanding, Mr. Alcantara, that this is the 60th year of the Don Young Job Corps in Palmer this year. I'm sure we'll be hearing about that. And we are, myself and John Dementi, and hopefully the mayor, to be meeting with the Alaska Airmen's Association Board. We really want to kind of suture in the Great Alaska Aviation gathering permanently in Palmer. And with the airport expansion, we have some lease lots, and we want to encourage them to take advantage of that and put a facility here and this be their home base. So we're going to pitch that idea. We'll see how that goes. But they certainly a nice shot in the arm for us in the city of Palmer. And besides that activity, the education and training that they can provide to all airmen would really be fantastic in Palmer. That's all I have for this evening.
Okay. Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Musi. A little bit of clarification. 2024 is the 60th birthday of Job Corps, the creation of Job Corps, and ironically, it's also the 30th birthday. So 1994 is when the Don Young Alaska Job Corps Center was created over here by the golf course, and so we're at 190 students today on our way to 226, and we'll be looking forward to a big birthday celebration. I think it's going to be the first or third Thursday in June, but don't quote me on that just yet. We'll keep you updated. Thank you.
Any other questions of our manager at this point? Okay. Next is the mayor's report. In my report, I think I included congratulations to our city clerk. She worked very hard on this 12-week master certificate, which doing classes while you are working is kind of challenging. And also in my report, I put a little bit of information I gathered about snow removal, and I know we've had some challenges, and we're working on ways to make some changes to help things out with that. And I think also in my packet, I had the proposed hiring process that we used 4 years ago, 3.5 years, 4 years ago. Okay. Also mention, I got invited and attended a technical committee meeting for the MVP MPO today, which I'm technically not on, but they invited, because the DOT was making a presentation on the STIP process, et cetera, and so they invited the people from the policy board. But in there, they mentioned that they needed official documents about who was going to be on our technical committee. I think I'd mentioned it before, but it's like, so at this point, I'll say I'm planning to write a letter, and if the council's in agreement, that I was planning to make Jude, our public works director, the technical committee rep for the MPO, and then they also mentioned alternate, and of course he left, so now he won't know that I was going to list Brad Hansen as the backup alternate. Just, if Jude can't make it, Brad has been doing it for the last 3 years, and so he'll be the alternate for that. So as long as there's no objection from the council, that was my plan, to write that letter and make that official for them. No objection? Okay. And then on the Golden Heart Award, the clerk has been pestering us about, and I think we've had I think Mr. Cooper, Councilman Cooper, suggested John Combs, and which I think would be very good, and we'll have to officially approve that probably at our next meeting, but I think that would be a good choice, and even if we have just the one, that would be significant. And Councilman Best?
I would second that. If I can talk about your meeting that I attended in your behest.
Yes, yes.
So the mayor was invited to meet with several downtown businesses that were impacted with some of the high volume of snow that we have had this last winter and the winter before last. And some of the businesses, for those that are not aware, that are on the very downtown core road coming through town, have no place to put their snow, and they have sidewalk requirements where they need to keep the sidewalks clear, but then where do you put the snow? I mean, you would actually have to have a pickup truck pull up and then shovel the snow into the back of a pickup truck to haul it away, because it's illegal for you to shove it out into the street. And that's what our code says is, so when we were meeting with a lot of the businesses, a lot of them were looking for the manager and the public works director to kind of give them guidance on what to do. And in that situation, it was kind of difficult for our personnel and manager to tell them to shove it out into the road and that you'll be good. That would be them to encourage them to do something illegal. So I'd like to ask council for us to bring back legislation to help try to massage that language a little bit that will allow, under particular certain situations, to have the authority to waive those abilities with the manager's approval, and I'll be bringing that legislation forward.
You'll
Mr.
be-
Mayor, I'd support that.
Okay. I'll sponsor it if no one else will.
Certainly, and it was well attended. There was a lot of folks just trying to do right, but just being hamstrung with the code. So I appreciate all the businesses and their willingness to sit down and have conversations, and the manager and staff that was there, taking arrows, but also hearing and offering the best solutions they could provide at the time. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other questions from my report or comments? Okay. Next, we have the city clerk's report.
I submitted a written report, and if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
This is significant. She did a written report.
That's the second one.
Masterclass work. Any questions of the clerk? Okay. Next, I believe, would be the attorney's report.
Good evening, all, and Happy New Year. I will also be brief. I've been continuing moving forward on the various administrative matters supporting the city departments. And in that respect, the Visitors Information Center newly drafted contract and negotiated contract is finished, and it is in Agenda Quick. It will be on the agenda at the next council meeting on January 23rd for your consideration. That's pretty much all on my end. I'm available for questions.
Is there any questions for the attorney at this time? Okay. Next, we have audience participation. They have a statement for me to read here. Council meeting rules protect your right to testify and be heard even if others in the room disagree with you. Council meeting rules also ensure that those attending can express their views if they do not interfere with the rights of others to see and hear the proceedings. At all times, order and decorum will be maintained in keeping with the civility and dignity of the legislative process. So, we'll go ahead and open audience participation. I believe a few people have signed up already. I can't see who's the first one, but. Yeah? Do you want to talk? Okay, so skip the first one. Come forward, sir. I didn't catch your name, but I did see you sign in. So please start with your name, and you have 3 minutes.
My name's Dave Cruz, and I'm a leaseholder on the Palmer Airport with several properties. Wanted to speak in favor of the authorizing the city manager to create a seasonal airport operator position. The current system that we have, the Public Works, my hat goes off to Greg Wickham and his group. He has always gone above and beyond. I've been there many Sunday mornings early, and Greg is one of the few people that's sitting on the blade trying to get the thing clear. One of the issues that most of you probably don't know about Palmer Airport, it runs 724s. Life Flight, Aero Air, Guardian, Life Meds are in here in the middle of the night. What makes Palmer unique over Wasilla and any other airstrip in the valley is we have a precision approach. And what that means in English is you can put that in your flight computer and fly from anywhere in the world and landing to the east on 09 or 10 now in IFR conditions. And this is an essential strip that has to be maintained. As a leaseholder, you know, we are afforded very, very favorable rates. We have our new airport manager has come forward, he's got a plan. I looked at it, it raises the rates, but he defended the costs that we currently have, and you can't argue with fact. So I am supporting this position, but I do have one caveat, and I wanted enshrined into this meeting is that an increase in these rates for lease is to solely support the seasonal permanent operator position. And I feel that it needs to be that kind of verbiage in it, so that it just doesn't get forgotten why we added 2.5 or 3 cents a square foot to this. I would also encourage you, and I don't know who sets the scale, but my company, we have right now about 125 new operators on the North Slope for projects that we have this winter, is you've got to pay a competitive salary if you want someone that's capable to do good work out there. They can, you know, we don't need them clipping off all the runway lights, tearing things up. And so I really feel that if you have that seasonal permanent position, there are people that will take that job in a minute because they got the summers off to fish and do things, but we genuinely can use that operator. And it's not gonna get clear as fast as Greg does it right now when we get several people, but he can keep that runway open. The other issue that I'd like to do, and I followed the money and when John was working over on the other side, and so on our business property tax or buildings, we pay that directly to the borough. So I'm very questioning why, if I have a city lease and I'm within the city of Palmer, why does my property tax go to the borough? So I went and chased it one time, went right over to the tax assessors and that, and basically what they said is, this is the way we've always done it. And I said, what does that money do? Well, it goes to support the schools. So I think you should also, as a city, look at that, because the borough, I think, gets the first bite at the apple for public safety and then funds you. I'm not all into exactly how it works, but I look at public safety as those Lifeline ambulances being able to land safely to take somebody out of Palmer or to bring somebody to this hospital out here. So that's really all I have here tonight. I'm here to ask any questions. I'm 9 years down, starting my 10th year there. I've done 3 big hangars there, currently own 2 of them. And we're just fortunate to have, we've got a good city, but we need this person down there. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, okay.
Hello, my name's Doug Glenn. I'm a leaseholder at the Palmer Airport, and we definitely have the best airport in South Central Alaska, and that is even better than Anchorage International. And the airport has grown like crazy, and everybody's noticed that. We have, 2 airport lots left for lease out there, and I actually have 7 acres on the airport. We've just built a new 10,000 square foot hangar we got done this year, and our struggles are with snow removal right now, and the crew that's out there does a great job, but they're overwhelmed, and they're trying to clear downtown, you know, then jump out to the airport. And so I'm in favor completely of doing what we need to do with the airport manager's plan to advance this. So anyway, if I could answer any questions, I'd do it. The airport manager, I first met John, this is a kudos for him, but we were flying on a movie support job, and I was actually bringing fuel to him in his helicopter in about 2004. So I was pleasantly surprised when he came walking across the ramp and told me he was our new airport manager. So he's a good guy. He'll do a good job for us. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation?
Is this on? I'm Travis. I live in Palmer, and I want to talk about something that is important. I want to tell you a story. Me and my mom went to Washington, D.C. for a spring break trip one time, and we stayed in a nice hotel. Inside was a Starbucks. It was about closing, so my mom wanted to get something before they closed for the night. Prior to closing, I saw one of the staff filling up a trash can, literally to the brim, with perfectly fine pastries and other foods. I was shocked. My jaw almost hit the floor. More troubling, they do this every night before closing. All that good food wasted for no good reason. Now, like most large cities, Washington, D.C. has homeless people. And as such, homeless people, on average, have a hard time finding food. So what sense is there for businesses to throw out good food when they could give it to the local food bank? My proposal is that there should be an ordinance to combat unnecessary food waste. I know it's a different topic than the norm, but it's similar. You know, all recycled waste and wasted food goes to fill up the landfill. Landfills are a waste of good land. They stink, they attract animals on the fringe, and not to mention the environmental hazards they carry. Left unchecked, all these toxic chemicals will decimate the surrounding ecosystem. Look, I know that there are certain things that can't be recycled or consumed, but there are proper ways of disposal. If some foods can't be eaten, we could put it in a compost pile. Things like styrofoam and other plastics can't be easy as recycled, but at least they're made from oil byproducts and can be converted back to fuel. All I'm saying is that there is a win-win strategy for everything, which also reminds me back on the food. I want there to be a compost pile that all of Palmer can use to dispose of food scraps and not feed it into the landfill. I mean, just the name should say it all. Landfills fill up land, and it doesn't give anything back in return.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gino Dolfradi. I live in Brittany Estates, 1200 Jocelyn Lane. I also wanted to talk about snow removal, but I wanted to say thank you to the city. I was pleasantly impressed. 3 weeks ago, after one of our big snowstorms, we saw the grader come through, and as we normally do, we got bundled up, and it was like, okay, let's go remove our berm, because that's usually what we have to deal with. Got outside, and I was pleasantly surprised that there was nothing to remove. This grader operator that you've currently got working for you is doing a great job. Just this week, they came back through, and again, it wasn't a mistake. It happened again, and the driveway was clean. And so I felt it was important to come tonight just to express my appreciation to Public Works and to the grader operators for doing an amazing job. This is the first time in 21 years I could say we're satisfied with what we're getting for snow removal. And so if you could convey that, thank you to the important people, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you get that, Jude? Anyone else for audience participation?
I apologize, I didn't know we were supposed to sign up in advance, but I have two things I wanted to say today. First, as a Palmer City employee, I did want to come and say thank you again. Sorry? Oh, Jennifer Williams.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank you.
I did want to come and say thank you again for the bonus you guys all voted for us. I know I'm a little bit of a Pollyanna, but it does make me feel seen and appreciated. So thank you for your gift. The other thing I did want to say, and I've been very encouraged at what's already been said tonight about the situation with the sidewalks and the snow removal. I'm glad you guys are working on it. I just did want to add my voice to say, please, please, please do something about this. Because we've lived in the valley for 11 years now, and it's been a constant annoyance. If you try to go shopping downtown, the sidewalks are rarely ever cleared. Trying to walk my dog in the winter is borderline terrifying. Because I live on a hill, and either way I have to go up a hill coming home, and I'm like eyes glued to that hilltop, thinking someday some driver's gonna come over the top of that hill, overconfident, and I'm gonna startle him or something, so, but, and I know the main point is the businesses. I was dismayed to find out that not only does Palmer not clear the sidewalks in front of the city, of the businesses, but then they threaten to punish any businesses that do try to help their employees. So just another voice saying, please do something about this.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation?
Hello, my name is Jackie Goforth. I would like to pass out the handouts for you to look at, but the clerk will not pass them out. And that's because last February, the attorney said that what I pass out is pornography, which is basically exactly what it is. Now, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana spoke on the Senate floor, and when he read aloud from the books Genderqueer and another one, and no one accused him of lack of decorum. But what I'm going to speak about now is a book that is in the Palmer Library, and it's in DVD also. It is called Call Me By Your Name. Now, I want you to know that everything I'm telling you, I can prove. In March last year, in Fairbanks at the Alaska Writers Conference, Devin Hilkenberg said, there's a necessity of giving sex-themed books to youths 12 years and older. It normalizes non-heterosexual sex, including how to perform certain sexual acts. And if kids come from conservative families, sexualized novels are a kind of safe or secret source for the kids. They're not as obvious, so the parents won't question it, so that the stuff is hidden within. Now, this book has some really bad stuff in it, and I don't even want to tell you what it is. But it basically is a peach. It's a gay gentleman. It's a peach, and one gentleman uses it to put some biological fluids in, and then the other one eats it. That's just the small version of it, okay? Now, what I want to tell you, however, is there is a library board member who wrote a review on this book. And she said, it's dominated by the emotions of pulsating lust and desire. It's crude. It's devoid of any literary merit. It borders on stalking. It eventually resulted in me physically cringing. Now, if you know the legal things you have to meet to prove indecency, under 11.61.128, that hits all of them. This book is indecent. If distributed to a minor, it's a Class C felony, and this was written by a library board member. Now, that same library board member put out online a nice little list, and what does it say? It says, I encourage all students to read these banned books. You can use this list as a starting point. Number 3 on that list is Call Me By Your Name. You have a library board member that knows it's illegal. She listed all of the requirements for it to be illegal, and then she tells children to read it, which is a violation of not only 11.61.128, but 11.41.452, which is enticing. Now, do they know that it's illegal? Absolutely. In May of 2018, I had a hearing where the library board member said, if this book is handed to a child when it comes in, or if it's recommended to a child when it comes in, then it's grooming. Now, I don't know if this rises to the level of a grand jury inquest, but I have written the state attorney general to find out.
That's your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Someone stole the pen. Huh? Travis.
We can get you one to take home, Travis. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Powger, and I am coming just to tell you what's going on at our local library and bring you some happy things. Baby Lap Sit and Story Time is at the train station every Tuesday at 10 and 11. January activities that are free at the Palmer Public Library are adult and teen relaxing coloring pages. If you go, you can pick up some markers and color while you're there at the library. They have kids' old-fashioned games that you can go check out for your kids to play. And they also have kids' craft kits and science kits that are available to check out and go home and do crafts and science experiments with your kids. They also, this month through March, they have PFDs in the paper forms, the applications in the paper forms. And you can also get a free pass to fill it out online if you need to fill out your application online, don't have a computer at home or internet access. I just wanted to make a comment. I'm on the Borough Library Board. As far as I know, Palmer itself does not have a library board. So I'm on the Borough Library Board, and that interests me, Jackie. I'll get the name from her later. Just wanted to let you know what's going on at your library, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Mike Malewski. I live at 325 East Fireweed Avenue in downtown Palmer. I had three topics I just wanted to quickly address that might be of use to you. One, I recently did another in a series of interviews. We've done a half a dozen of these where we've asked Senator Shelley Hughes to match up with former Senator Tom Begich. And we do 15 minutes with each one separately. And then it's always interesting to say, okay, what have they said? How does that really match up? What is it about? I have found them enlightening. The first thing is a takeaway. The topic this time was a look at the beginning legislative session just about. I said, okay, what do you think? What's going to happen? And more importantly, if there are topics that have been worked at, worried for a long time, but there hasn't been much success. What would it take to move the ball a bit further, to actually change that? And it was interesting to hear both of them express their opinions, but I'll leave it to your listening to it's a Valley edition of this past Friday. It's up on our website, and certainly you can take a listen. I found it very informative. Secondly, snow removal. I was at the same meeting Mr. Best was at, and because we have a business nonprofit down there, fortunately our storefront is narrow, not quite that narrow, but fairly narrow, and I get there early every morning. So my sense of things is on that focus. I can move the snow, and I usually beat the crews from Public Works, so I can push it on the edge there, and they take it away. But not everyone is that fortunate. And I was impressed with the people who have a larger frontage who are quite able to say, let's talk about this, find some way to deal with it. And I thought that both Jude and John were very clear in presenting the issues, and Mr. Best as well, looking at some of the ordinances that actually control what's happening. And lastly, I want to commend the building department. I believe, this is my belief, it may not be actual fact, that I was the first one in 2024 to be issued a building permit and complete the project. And it was through the efficiency of the building group. And I admit it was a shed, but it was a 10 by 20 foot shed, and we were able to get it in winter and have it done. It started one day, and 8 hours later it was finished. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for audience participation? Okay. See, no one will close audience participation. Next, we have public hearings. First is resolution number 24-006, identifying the City of Palmer's capital projects priorities for state, federal, and other interested parties funding. So first we'll open the public hearing for that. And does anyone wish to comment on our capital projects priorities? There we go. So, okay, seeing no one, we will close audience participation, or public hearing. And what's the wishes of the council? What's that? Yes, and I'm trying to find, what page are we on for this one? Oh, here we go. 120, somewhere in there. So, yeah, I think we need a motion to do this.
Mayor, move to approve.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So discussion, I believe this is essentially what we had last year with the successful things taken off. Correct, Mr. Manager?
Then we have one addition,
And you have an addition?
top of 123, the big number.
Oh, the library.
No,
No?
it's a bigger number, a really, really big number.
My goodness, what page number are we at? All right. 46.5 million. All right. So, council have any comments? Do we want to change the order on anything? Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You must be reading my mind. Yeah, I do would suggest that we change the order. I don't think the $100,000 for the water tower purchase, which is something I believe we could do on our own, if it's to remain in our list of priorities, I would suggest it moves down to the number 10 spot, and we move the Veterans Park establishment up to its number 4 position. And you may say that the one page that we hand out to legislators isn't really in numerical order, but it really is always looked at that, whether we put numbers to them or not. So, I mean, they'll look at Palmer Public Library as the first thing, and they'll look at a $100,000 water tower purchase as number 4, and I don't think that's, it's not number 4 in my list of priorities, so I just wanted to state that.
I guess I would ask the question if we want to just remove it from the list at this point. Councilman
Mayor.
Best. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Best.
Spending almost 4 years down there working for the legislature, you often heard many of the legislators wanting to have a kind of a variation of projects because they don't always know how much they're going to get to spend in their area. And if there is an opportunity for them to go after a big project, well, then they'll take that. But sometimes they only have a little bit. And so we give them different selection, and we might not get one or the other, but it does give them different tools in their tool bag to bring something to help our community out.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I concur with Mr. Best, or with Councilman Best. Luckily enough, some of us don't have to go to Juneau in order to have contact with our legislators. Not that I'm offended by your statement, I'm just saying that they're there, they listen to us, and often a phone call or an email away, and we can talk with them about that. But I would agree that has been the comment in the past, is that they do want to see a variation because of those tools in their tool bag. So I would agree with Mr. Best.
Okay. Mr. Manager.
Yes, if I can just add this is our stated legislative priorities, but also too, when we apply for grants, to have a project saying it was approved as a priority, voted on by the city council, has weight. So yes, we want federal money, yes, we want state money, but this also helps us with other opportunities as far as grants and grant competitiveness.
Councilman Tudor.
Mr. Mayor, propose, what if we move item number 4 to item number 8 and swap those out? Because I think the safety service building is, well, it's going to take us a little while to fundraise for that, but that is a pretty important project too. So I wonder if we swap those, that'll kind of help put the importance into the minds of the legislators.
So you moved, what?
To swap, to swap item 4 with item 8.
Okay.
I just lost my place on this thing.
I
There it is.
That's right.
Okay, there it is,
And
yeah.
there's a second.
So we
Okay.
moved the water tower purchase to where the safety, I would say public service building, the safety service building is.
Okay, so just swap those. And we have a couple seconds. I think Councilwoman Moline was the first second, just quiet. Okay, any other comments or discussion, questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll for that, please.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angelotti,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline.
Yes.
Unanimous?
Okay, so that's been swapped. 4 for 8, 8 for 4. We done? We ready to go on, or do we have any more? Everyone's quiet and thoughtful. Probably trying to add up all the numbers. Are we ready to go ahead and vote on the main motion then? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll for the main motion as amended.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angelotti,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
unanimous?
All right. Next, we have resolution number 24-007, authorizing the city manager to sign and execute a 5-year contract with the Matanuska-Susitna Borough to provide fire emergency response to the Greater Palmer Fire Service area. Do we need a little bit of staff report, or are we ready to go into public hearing? What's that? Okay, so we'll open the public hearing for resolution number 24-007. Anyone wishing to comment on this resolution, can you please come forward? Okay, we will close public hearing. What's the wishes of the council for resolution number 24-007?
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, any desire for more information, or? I think we talked a little bit about this during the budget, so, okay. All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angelotti,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
unanimous?
All right, next is resolution number 24-008, authorizing the city manager to allocate $125,000 to create a fleet replacement fund for the Palmer Fire and Rescue. We will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution can please come forward. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve.
Second.
Okay, thank you. That was moved by Councilwoman Moline, seconded by Councilman Tudor. Any discussion, questions of staff? Councilman Best.
With us having a fire service area outside of our city limits, is this going to hamstring us in any manner when it comes to funding sources, grant applications, anything like that, if we have we as a city have this, and then we have contractual services to provide services outside of that. Are we okay with this through the attorney and through the manager?
Through the manager, this is probably a beneficial thing. So if we have a grant opportunity that requires a match for larger equipment, we would have this available. And also too, the City of Palmer's major equipment is purchased with City of Palmer funds. Palmer area-wide fire equipment is purchased with area-wide funds. So it's kind of, we got a wall between those. So I think I think this is okay, and this is a little bit being more proactive than we've been in the past, certainly.
And Madam Attorney, did you want to weigh in on anything with that?
I'm a mute. Yes, Mr. Mayor, I am in a complete agreement with that. There is no conflict contractually that I can see in terms of future conflicts regarding parties or duties and obligations. That should be streamlined. If anything, it clarifies the channels of where funds are coming from and those pieces. So this is more of an efficiency thing. I don't see it as a conflict at all.
Okay, thank you, Madam Attorney. All right, we ready to vote on this then? Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti?
Yes.
Councilmember Moline?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra?
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, resolution number 24-009, authorizing the city manager to create a seasonal airport equipment operator position. We will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this resolution can come forward and
My name is Richard Young. I'm a leaseholder out at the airport as well. And I just wanted to support the position for the snow removal. It will help build the airport and increase our ability to operate 24/7 out of there. So I just built a brand new hangar, and I'm bringing people in from Fairbanks with IFR equipment, and they're going to want to be able to access the airport all the time. And this position will help us with snow removal and other maintenance requirements to keep the runways open. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to resolution number 24-008?
Hello, my name is Eric Anderson from Palmer. In my opinion, this is a little late than never, or a little late than it should be. We got to plan better on our snow removal, but the airport is an essential item to the city, and it's an essential emergency part that the city, I don't think really knows how important it is to keep that open 24/7. During any snow event, the airport should almost have a priority over all the streets in Anchorage that aren't arteries. The arteries, obviously, you try to keep those open as much as you can, but the airport is actually a priority. And when you look at creating one position, that's one position 8 hours during a snow event. In a snow event, you need to do what you can to clear it as fast as you can and keep it open. And in all reality, we need to create 3 or 4 positions during a snow event just for the airport and keep it open. And then it's not so hard to maintain once it's open. If you go out there now, there's so much snow, and I know they got a blower and they got a grader and dump trucks trying to move it around, but they're so far behind as far as getting that snow moved in an appropriate manner to make sure the airport's 100% operational. People that have tie downs and other leases, they're kind of, getting the short end of the stick on the money they're paying for because they're not getting 100% service. And yeah, rates are probably going to go up, but in all reality, the rates are minimal compared to the importance of having those extra positions. And so when you think about creating a position, especially during snow events and emergency type situations where there's certain infrastructure that needs to stay open. It's no different than a fire station. You're not gonna go to a fire station during a snow event and see the doors snowed in. It's the same thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to this resolution? Okay, we will close the public hearing. What's the wishes of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve, but is it appropriate time to ask for a caveat to this to direct the manager?
First, we need the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
I move to approve.
Okay, now we have a motion on the floor.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to direct the city manager through the mayor to use this position solely for that of the airport and that it's not to be used for any other purposes.
Okay, Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm in favor of what Councilmember Moline just said, but more than anything, I wanted to thank the gentleman that came out and talked about snow removal in the airport, and Mr. Cruz and Mr. Glenn and some of the others that aren't here on a regular basis, maybe Mr. Del Frade, don't know that it's not a two-way street here as far as asking questions from up here. It's not like testifying in a legislature where we can ask you questions from up here. So don't think that we weren't paying strict attention to everything that you guys are saying like we do, the regular folks that are here on a every meeting basis. It just, we don't have that ability to ask you questions from up here. So thank you for your testimony. It's very important, and it definitely opened my eyes to the 24/7, 365 that is the Palmer Airport. So appreciate all you guys coming up. Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had a discussion, it was probably the last meeting or meeting before, with the Public Works Director, and we talked about this position, but we actually talked about full-time positions and the need for probably 2 full-time positions. And not only can they do, obviously there's work to be done in the summer, there's obviously work to be done in the winter as well. And I think I talked to the attorney about this, that because these people would be working strictly at the airport, they should be funded by FAA, and I'm not sure how that would work, because if they are in fact paid for by the city, obviously I don't think there would be any restriction by FAA saying that we can't use them somewhere else. But with Councilwoman Moline's comment, I would think that these people should be at the airport, but I think that we should go to FAA and try to get 2 full-time positions.
Deputy Mayor, you look like you're ready to push the button.
I'm thinking. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I was able to go on a short tour of the airport recently with Mr. Cruz and Mr. Glenn, and I too did not realize how important the airport is and how many jobs it supports. And I think that this is definitely a good position to open up. And I also think that having 2 even would be much needed and much used. I support what Councilman Moline was proposing. However, I'm also wondering if that was exactly what Mr. Cruz was going for when he was talking about this position solely being funded. I think he was talking about the lease rates going up, and I don't know if that's something that Mr. Dumenti can speak to, and if he's allowed to come up and share about that, I would love to hear, if that's allowed.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Councilman Best.
I might be able to give a little clarification on that.
Sure.
Any of the taxes that we pull in goes into our general fund. It can't be allocated to a particular area. So why I hear what is being stated about that they want to make sure that those rates are being utilized on these individuals. We cannot state that dollar goes to that pocket. And so all of our money go into the general fund, and then we as a governing body create our budget, and then that's how our monies are spent.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I apologize.
Yes, Council.
I would just like to ask Mr. Moussi for clarification on that as to how that would be structured.
Mr. Moussi.
So one thing, and you'll get to really make this point, I think, in a few months, that the city manager works directly for the city council, and the city council can make a directive that any additional rate increase, we're expecting you to apply it to this position. And as I'm accountable, it doesn't have to be, I think, anything formalized, other than getting it through whoever thick skull is sitting here, that it sticks.
All right, well, I have a question or two. So the leases for the airport, that comes in as airport income, correctly? Which is an
That is
enterprise,
correct.
which is an enterprise
Yeah,
fund.
we work, yes, it's enterprise funds. We work very hard to have our grant funds, money from FAA, and the leases to be in the black, so it's not subsidized by the general taxpayer.
Right.
It's
So
not
any
always
money-
been in the past, but the last, I think, 4 years we have, and that's important to us.
Yeah. So any money coming in is for the airport and will be in the airport budget.
That is always what we've done, as far as I'm aware of.
Also, is this position, is it a position that you could have two people in, or is this a one slot only?
So first off, I think Mr. Dementi comes up here because the first question I would have for him is, we have lease agreements. And I do not believe unilaterally we can say, hey, you know what? New landlord, you got a 10, 15, 20% increase. So this revenue is going to be coming in, from my understanding, not all at once, as requested. At that point in time with the leases, and we have a couple lease lots, that sort of thing too, we don't know the exact revenue. One thing we are realizing is all over that last year's winter and this year's winter is now the new normal, not once in a 20-year thing. Jude will come up, I'm sure, after he sees the success of this, he will come to me and put something on city council to talk about his needs shortly. But yes, we will do our very best. We do need someone out there. At the same time, we try to operate within the black. We try to be good stewards of the money. And that's where city council comes in as far as priorities. What do we move on to increase the performance, and what is satisfactory? Because we really cannot serve everybody satisfactorily. At least maybe the next person can. I've not been able to accomplish that yet.
Welcome.
Oh, sorry, question for you. Tell us about the leases, when we're going to be able to increase the leases, and how much do you anticipate that happening? Dollar-wise, how much is that going to occur?
Yes, sir.
So right now, we're looking, and the lease rates for about 2/3 of the leases are up for review. With that, it's built into the lease that every 5 years we have a lease review. And about 2/3 of the lease fall inside that 5 year. Most of them, of those 2/3 are about 7 years since their previous review. What I'm proposing is a lease increase for those leases from about 6.5 cents to about 9 cents. It's a large increase. And what I'm proposing to you is that we use this money to fund an equipment operator. And backing up, if you want, I can back up to the beginning and start with the need and kind of tell the whole story, but.
Well, I think the point I was trying to make is the airport's an enterprise fund. It's its own thing. So as you increase money coming into that, you're the one that's probably going to decide where the budget goes and how that money goes. So that's basically how it is. Now, technically, the council, like we've done like with the golf course and I think our water and sewer, sometimes they're short funded. We'll take money out of the general fund to put in there, which we've done a few times in the last number of years for the airport. Theoretically, we can try to take money out of those enterprise funds, but I haven't seen any of them that successful yet to do that. But so my point is that this is really kind of under your control.
Yes, sir.
And trying to assure the people in the audience as well is that you're the man with a plan and, you know, under your budget, under your manager, you're the one that comes up with the budget and all that, so. Is there any questions we have?
Yeah,
For
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
D? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Lee.
Thank you. Just real quickly, do you have kind of a ballpark estimate as to how much that one half a, well, seasonal, I guess is what I'm trying to say, body would cost?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
The cost of that individual is going to be, I'm using a mid-range, the current level of equipment operator and a mid-range operator is gonna cost approximately $38,000. And that's for 1,000 hours. And it's, I'd like to build some overtime into that. It's gonna push it up to about $45,000. Yes, ma'am.
And back to the one question I was asking was, this, are we creating a position for just one person, or is this a position that you could, if you had the budget, hire two people into the same class?
At this time, with the lease increase I'm proposing, we're able to afford one person in a seasonal position with 1,000 hours and about 100 hours of overtime. It's, it would be too large of a burden, I believe, on the leaseholders at the airport to go further than that.
Okay. Councilman.
Thank you. So it's, you know, it's probably a misstatement. It's my assumption then that we don't go to FAA and ask them for any, and we're not very successful with getting any kind of funding for us to run, you know, yeah, it's a city, quote, city airport, but it's FAA funded. And we have requirements by FAA to use their equipment, and you can't use that equipment anywhere else. So if we hire these people, have we ever gone to FAA and say, we need two people, give us money, or do we ever bill them?
It's our airport, and if FAA gave money for employee funding, we're not aware of it. We certainly ask. It's just with the requirements, that sort of thing, they do a good job. I mean, they funded $10 million worth of improvements. They don't generally, from everything I understand, they don't fund employees for a municipality or an airport that is not theirs. Is that also your understanding?
Yes, sir. They fund capital improvements. And the reason that they fund capital improvements is that so that it allows us to charge a rate to leaseholders to be able to support the airport ourselves, to be self-sustaining.
Deputy Mayor, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just considering, I'm sure you already thought of this, but the lease increases seem kind of staggered, if I understand correctly. And so being able to afford the one seasonal airport operator, that was with all those increases after they were all complete. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. What that would do is fund the operator this year and then and then increases in the future would protect it against inflation.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, John. So one thing going along with what Mr. Best said, I just know I'm not confusing the Airports Enterprise Fund with what we can do here at the city. We can, as city council, take some of the taxpayer money, some of the $3 million and some of the sales tax money and add money to this. I mean, this doesn't have to be set at one person. I mean, if we believe, and I think a lot of folks do, that it's the important thing to fund, you can come, the city manager can come ask for more funding and we can make it happen. I'm a little nervous not knowing much about it. It sounds like you've done some really good due diligence and met with some people, but you know, that's over a 33% increase in your lease rate. You know, I'm thinking like, wow, that's a big chunk right off the bat to be asking these folks to fund and I think you do the right meetings and meet with the right folks. They probably realize it's a wise investment, but it just struck me as like when you said taking it from 6.5 cents to 9, I was like, wow, we're talking real money, you know. So I wonder if maybe if the airport being a lifeline for the city and the city's airport, we should be looking at other places to help supplement this $23,400. Thank you.
That's part of what we can have at discussions for budget time as well. Councilman Tudor.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, I just had a general question. It seems like we've had a lot of significant snowfalls on holidays. I know this mentions, being on call, but just being human nature. Is there any kind of change to the prioritization of the airport from just regular public works? Should this person, let's say they're in, doing a vacation somewhere in Florida or Hawaii or something like that, and then we get a massive snow dump? I mean, is there enough support where we can pull somebody from, main public works, road clearing and assist with this?
Right now, the airport pays a flat fee to the city of Palmer. It's about $38,000 coming from an administrative fund. And if the city spends more than that $38,000, that it comes out of the general fund to fund that. So I do not plan on removing that line item from the general fund. I'd like to keep it there because we still need the support from Public Works to remove the snow. One person is not going to be able to do all this. It's gonna, but what it allows Public Works to do is to do it on their time and to be able to better support the city.
Yeah, if I could follow up, I would think it'd be pretty wise. I like the idea of just having one person in the beginning. And should we run into staffing issues, if anything, we could have somebody for, have a addition to Public Works that they could be utilized for more than just the airport, and then have that person be the priority backup for that main person, if anything. Thank you.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I'd like to bring everybody's attention to is I appreciate the airport manager and the city manager, and the businesses that are on the airport having the open discussions of there's a concern, here's a plan, it's going to increase your basically your cost of being out here, but there was an acceptance of that. And when we get back to my council member's comment over here to my right about we could just dip down into the general fund to pay in to make it a full-time, to kind of fold this back into a previous conversation, we were talking about some of the downtown businesses about snow removal and all that kind of stuff. And you bring up the idea of increasing taxes to pay for another body, and then everybody kind of gets, they're on thin margins, and I get that. And I think I appreciate this holistic approach that the patrons at the airport are taking with the city of Palmer, because, just for us to just say, hey, we hear you, and everybody just starts throwing money at, well, we need to have, higher paid employees, and the cost for everybody is going up exponentially across the board in every industry. But I appreciate this team aspect and the holistic approach to solving a problem that we have incrementally. This might not solve all of our problems right now, but it's one that they're going to be taking a little bit of a bite in the shorts to have to pay for this. We're going to try to provide a little bit more support, and let's try to manage these pains in this manner. I really appreciate how everybody's going about it. Thank you so much.
Okay, and so what's before us is to create this similar position to what the Public Works has, but for the airport. Any difference for rates, et cetera, would go through your normal process of rate review or lease review?
Yes, sir.
And that would come back to council at that time?
The rate review at this time, it can be done by myself and the city manager. What I'm planning on doing is at the next Airport Advisory Commission on February 8th is to break out the budget. I'm inviting all the leaseholders to come out. Let's take a look and let's see if this is fair. Let's review our lease rate versus other airport lease rates in the area. Let's review, how much we actually need for this position, and let's review actually how much revenue we're going to generate. and let's figure out a fair lease rate.
Okay.
And like
And-
Mr. Cruz said when he came up, it's, you know, my goal is to support this operator and not to go any further with it.
And so, but I guess part of my question is, and then if you're doing a rate review, that will eventually come back to council for approval, correct?
No, it's in the contract. That
Oh, it's in
gives-
the contract?
Yes, that
Okay.
gives the authority to the manager.
Okay.
Right.
Which really boils down to how much do we trust our airport superintendent?
Evidently, a lot.
Apparently. Okay. Does the council have any more questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Madam Attorney.
I just wanted to clarify that the lease agreements are built into every, the rent issues. There's contingencies built if there's disagreement on what the actual rent increases should be and how that's to be determined. It's a very robust section of the lease. So it's an automatic thing that after every 5 years, the lease rates are looked at, since the leases tend to be 25 years long, that every 5 years they're looked at to be increased so that they equal market value. Just for clarification for council.
Okay. So now that we've gotten through all this discussion, back to, what is it are we voting on, Madam Clerk? Well, we had a motion, then it was
The motion.
qualified.
The motion that you're going to vote on is the motion from Councilmember Moline, directing the city manager to use the position for the airport and the airport only. That would be the first vote, and the second vote would be on the main motion to adopt. But you need to vote on your amendment first, or your direction. I mean, it's fair to vote on the direction first.
Okay.
Are you following
Did
me?
council follow that? Okay. So if we can, the first vote will be about giving the direction with it, okay? Madam Clerk, if you can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor? Yes. Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti?
Yes.
Councilmember Moline?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes. And then next, this is for the full motion that will create the position and proceed forward. Is there any other questions, comments from the council? Okay. Madam Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Councilmember Moline?
Yes.
Mayor Carrington?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalotti?
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper?
Yes.
Councilmember Best?
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Okay. And just in between here, I'll comment that we usually meet with our boards and commissions. We try to do it once a year, and I think maybe in the spring, we should meet with the Airport Advisory Committee and see how things are going. All right, action memorandum number 24-001, authorizing the city manager to negotiate a contract with the Plug Hug fire hydrant cleaning system and a hydraulic drive motor kit. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, is there any questions or comments from the council? Councilman Alcantara?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'm just always impressed how entrepreneurs can build a better mousetrap, and I think it's. I'm glad that there were so many pages on this in our 197-page packet, but yeah, it looks like a very interesting and well-used device. So I'm in support.
Councilman Tudor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm always in favor of labor-saving devices, so I was just curious as to, do we have an estimation of how much money this is gonna save the city as far as labor cost goes?
Mr. Manager?
To have this equipment versus us sending somebody really skinny in there to scrub the lines and that sort of thing, astronomical. We don't know anybody that skinny. This is, yeah, so 40 years ago, when I first started, they were called pigs, and we'd send them in and shoot them down through the system and clear it out. And then that neighborhood where it came out was so full rust, they'd scream at us for a couple of weeks, but we did tell them it was cleaner. They didn't believe us. But this does work. This does work very well, and it's a good system, and I think $24,000 is a good deal for what it does.
Councilman Tudor?
And kind of following up with that, I'm assuming this is gonna, because the big part of this too is just how much quicker it is. This is also gonna allow the city staff just to be a lot more efficient, I'm assuming, and be able to do a lot more with less time.
Yes, this is just proper maintenance this day and age.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline.
Yes.
Unanimous?
Unanimous. All right, action memorandum number 24-002, I Heart Hockey 8U Tournament, City Council Community Grant Fund request of $1,500. What's the wishes of the council?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve.
Second?
So it's been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments from the council? Councilman Alcantra.
Yeah, I'm hesitant a little bit when talking about 8-year and under hockey players. Certainly don't want it to be misconstrued, but is this $1,500 of cash so they can then buy ice time, or is this just $1,500 of cash to make the tournament happen?
It subsidizes the ice time.
Any follow-up, Councilman Alcantra?
I guess I'm curious why we just don't do the in-kind and a little bit higher amount, maybe, I mean, if it's a $7,600 tournament and we're giving them $1,500 cash to turn around
Mr.
and pay
Manager?
for ice time, I mean, we could maybe give them more
As
in-kind ice time.
a manager, we're trying real hard to have the revenues cover the expenses. And when this stuff happens, it doesn't match up or get us where we want to be. Essentially, though, you are correct. $1,500 kind of goes away no matter how you do it to cover this cost. It all is the same in the wash, but we're trying real hard to make our enterprise funds be enterprise funds.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalati,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantra,
Yes.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper.
Yes.
Unanimous?
All right, action memorandum number 24-003, authorizing the city manager to negotiate an extension to the professional services agreement with Wolf Architecture for design services and construction management of the Palmer Public Library. What's the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments from council? Councilman Best.
I'd just like to say that as to date, I've appreciated Wolf Architecture, how they've gone about the public engagement aspect, the reports and presentations that we've seen. We haven't had as many people attend some of the rollouts that we've had. That's been somewhat disappointing that not more of the public has been involved in it, but the process that has been followed has been much appreciated. And we know that they're hometown folks, and so we appreciate them being engaged in this.
Councilman Alcantra.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on to what Councilmember Best said, that I can't hit a hockey puck to where they're at, but I definitely can hit a golf ball to where they're located, and I think that's a huge advantage. They've done great work so far. I would opine that having 4 p.m. community meetings doesn't bode well for public participation, so we need to maybe put that in our hat for the future, maybe having a little bit later start where people can get off work, make it back from Anchorage if they commute, those kind of things. But they have done, I think, an amazing job. I look forward to whatever city manager can negotiate with them, and I'm definitely supportive of this resolution. Thank you.
Councilman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. This might be a rhetorical question, but, and maybe we discussed it previously, but are we under any kind of concern about this as a sole source?
Mr. Manager.
So before Wolf was hired for the first part, we went for a full search, evaluation, interview, that sort of thing, where we had, I think it was 5 architects bid for this or propose for this, and we rated those, and Wolf came out as a recommendation. So this is just a continuation. When we did that originally, we said it was for the first, I'm gonna call it the first third, with an option for the second and third part to be approved by city council if that's what we desired. Or at that point in time, we could throw this all out again. My recommendation would be is we're really pleased with the work that they've done, and we would not be paying anybody a second time to redesign what we just went through.
Follow up, please.
Yes, Councilman
So
Cooper.
I'm to assume that what you're saying is that the initial contract RFP that went out, that all of this was included in the first one and all 5 people were evaluated on, from step 1 through completion.
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions of the council? All right. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Best,
Yes.
Councilmember Alcantara,
Yes.
Councilmember Tudor,
Yes.
Councilmember Cooper,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Anzalati,
Yes.
Mayor Carrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Moline.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Okay, there's no unfinished business. And before we get to the new business, I think we'll take a break. I don't know how long the recruitment thing is gonna go, so we'll take a break here for 7 minutes-ish.
Ish.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, I was waiting because I remember you guys had that all around higher lights.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I might be a little bit. Oh, yeah. You better be. That's all I have to say. Yeah. I said, can we turn off our phones?
He's very adventurous.
I'm a little nervous, but he knows me and I don't think he would make me do it.
He might do a little.
Oh, he would put me out like personality. Yeah, my husband. He knows I don't like making me. Because I grew up riding horses and he started riding two-wheelers. So we're all, like, I'll take him in the brain. He doesn't want to do the brain. But, so he's always side by side that I don't want to do, but then I enjoy it after. So probably the same. Well, you know how he is. Right? Yes. He loves so much eating. Well, not so much the diving. They went diving in Oregon. Not the Red Sea, which is cool, and he enjoyed that, but then he had like beds for like that's scary. Oh my gosh. Because like they go and then they're like 50 feet and it like the pressure. And then like today's really just got to be at 10,000 feet, you know? So it's like he's getting like extreme. So he's like, what? But he said it was really cheap over there, and he got like somebody that was trained to be better than the military. Right, exactly. Like shoot him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I tripled over. Yeah, which is good. I mean, they have this. It's good to have channels. I mean, that's the important thing. Where'd he go? You know what I mean? He's a tall one. He's a tall one.
You saw us at the fair like last year. That was, I don't even think that was official at that. Yeah. Like what are you? I don't know. So I've lived with my kids for 10 years, but honestly, I don't know if we would ever make an official sister and then well, so we did that like 6 months. She kicks me with me. I know, and she's like, so you guys like wait for girlfriend or what? And first of all, like, I don't know. That's his older sister. And she's like, I think she's like, I decided. And I was like, okay, well, and then we got married later, so I guess that's oh, wait, yeah, how long after that did you? We were together for a while. Okay. We were together for like another 6 years. Oh my gosh, yeah. Because we're in our 40s, we're old, you know. I'm almost there. You have to I mean, my sister, so I turned 28. My sister literally, like, I don't know, not even January. I think it was like the end of December. Or no, it was like January 1st or 2nd. She goes, oh, that's 29 this year, right? Yeah. I spent the entire, last year thinking about basically well, we still go and play. Side by side out in October.
We ready to go here?
Your phone fell. I found something.
This weird phone pocket on my pants it's a weird side thing.
Weird, yeah.
It's got a zipper on it, so
I think the other way so the pocket goes down.
that would make sense. All right. I guess we have all the council, so we're started back in. So, discussion of the city manager position recruitment process. So I think in my packet was included what we used in 2020, almost 4 years ago. This is discussion, so this is, I'll just start off by saying that the way our structure works in Palmer, one of the most important things the council does is hire a manager, because they handle the day-to-day operations of most of the city, except for the stuff the attorney does and the clerk does. Although those two people also work for us. Yes? Councilwoman Moline.
I don't have my light on, but I guess you're expecting me to comment on this? Is that the?
There you go.
So, well, as far as the discussion on the city manager position and the recruitment process, I know that I had asked, we had moved and approved taking a look at the code, the city code, and the charter as far as the ability to expand upon the requirements of where the city manager lives. Any progress on that? Or can we have a report on progress on that, please?
We've had a little bit of discussion, I think, with staff. That process has got two parts to it. One is it's mentioned in ordinance, which of course the council can change. But the other is mentioned in charter, which would be a charter change, which means it would be going to like an October election. I think that's probably something, if we want to do a change for that, would be something like, I'd say in the spring, let's start looking at and mapping it out. I mean, it's good to mention now, just because as we're recruiting for people. But Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When it comes to the minimum requirements with a bachelor's degree, I want to make sure that we aren't really, the way that it reads, we're talking, it does have an or in there, a related field of 5 years experience or responsible, 5 years of related field. So like when we hired Nate, it wasn't a related field. It was, he had managerial experience, but it wasn't city administration. It wasn't a related field. So I want to make sure that we have the ability to have qualified individuals with characteristics that we feel fit and suit what we're looking for, but that we don't hamstring ourselves. So I don't know if we need to maybe reword that a little bit.
Councilman Cooper.
Yes, sir. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, Richard, but the way I read that is you have to have a bachelor's degree in business, bachelor's degree in public administration, or a bachelor's degree in a related field, not work-related field that you have 5 years of responsible experience. So it's the different.
I get that. And I appreciate that clarification. That is, so I want to make sure that we're not requiring a bachelor's degree. I'd like us to search for it, but I would like for us to open up so that we have individuals that are not necessarily, with that degree. I mean, we have practical experience individuals like I said with Nate. He happened to have a degree, but his experience wasn't actually in municipal management.
Councilman Tudor.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to build on what Councilman Best said. My thought was, because this requires a bachelor's degree, with 5 years experience, what if we also added on, or 10 years of experience as well? So that way they have the option to either a bachelor's degree plus 5 years experience, or they can just have 10 years of experience or some amount of experience in lieu of having the degree.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I actually would support that, what Councilman Tudor is saying. I know that with most of our corporate And I understand that this is, you know, in the different sector, but in most of the corporate settings right now, that is, they are looking at in lieu of, and opening that up more to experience rather than the actual dedicated academics. So.
Councilman Alcantara.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I definitely agree with and applaud the comments that Councilmember Moline and Tudor and Best all had to make. I mean, I lived through this 4 years ago. I do not have a bachelor's degree. I have plenty of years of experience when I applied, and the vote was 4-3. A couple of folks here on council voted to interview myself and Miss Bauer, who is now the city manager in the city of Soldotna, but neither of us had bachelor's degrees, and I probably could never have won out over the silver-tongued devil across the room. But I do think that there's people out there that may or may not rise to the top. We may get somebody with a doctorate. We may get somebody with advanced degrees. But I think the bigger net we cast, they're doing the same thing at the state now with Governor Dunleavy. They're doing the bigger net that we can cast, the better pool of applicants we're going to get. So thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Yes, I do not want to weigh in on your discussion, but I would like you to know that Kimberly Green, our HR director, is listening here. She was not able to be here for health reasons. And the thing she pointed out is with the changing requirements, you have many of these same requirements in your director positions. So just be aware of that. Those positions, I think, have similar requirements. And she's available. If there's a question, I can text her. She can contact back tonight. And I don't know the timing. She wanted to be here tonight, just could not health-wise for our protection. Sorry, didn't mean to share that, but I did. And so you can work on something. We can make sure she has to come back. But, you know, as far as John Moosey, the manager, this is yours. I want to support, but I am not interested in weighing in on your discussion or your effort here to find a newer, better, prettier model.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Moline, yes.
Would it be appropriate just to go ahead and suggest that as we are crafting maybe perhaps the job description as well as the requirements, that we do work closely with Kimberly and with HR just to ensure that we've captured most of what is the desire of the council to have in their next city manager, please?
Yeah, I think we can kind of ask the manager if we can do that, and then when we have changes that she could, you know, send them through the clerk to all the council so we can verify. So did we have any actual changes? I do note that it says work experience related to the duties of the position may be substituted on a month-to-month basis for the education requirement. Is that, basically, does that cover? That's in that same paragraph. Do we think that covers it, or do you want a word it a little more open? Councilwoman Moline, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would prefer just a more directed verbiage in the requirement. So I would prefer to see in lieu of, but maybe with some stronger requirements as far as the years of experience.
All right. Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. It's just a clarification, you know, because it talks about on a month-to-month basis for their education requirement.
I'm not sure what that means.
What that means.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, do I have 2 years of, you know, I had 2 years of a master's degree? Does that mean I have to have 2 months for, you know, or is it 48 months? Is it, you know, I mean, I'm not sure what the, so it has to be more explicit, I think, you know?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, is 1 year equal to 2 semesters or 3? Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
in my assessment of that, and I could be way off track, but that month to month, I think might mean, was scripted with the intent that that individual could seek a higher degree, and that they would be assessed on a monthly basis in order to obtain that. Could take, 11 months, could take 12 months, depending upon, whether they were seeking an MBA or whatever. That's just kind of how I interpreted that. I could be wrong, but.
Yeah, I think that it's actually, well, it's titled minimum requirements, so it seems to be kind of the prerequisites, but. Councilman Best.
So what is it really that we're trying to do tonight then? Because
push this forward.
Yeah. Well,
somehow.
I mean, we're going to, do we need to have it wordsmithed and all that kind of stuff? Or is this, we're just giving direction to Kimberly and then they're going to take what we're saying and implement it?
Councilwoman Moline.
Mr. Mayor, my recommendation would be that anything that is wordsmithed or that we've asked to have done, that it does come back to us for approval and further. I see this as kind of a long process. It's not good. I don't see this happening just in one night or 1 month even, maybe 2, but that's the way I would prefer to have it. I don't know about the other council members, but in order to get our final stamp of approval, I do think that it needs to come back to us.
Councilman Cooper.
Yes, sir. Would you be kind of amenable to having, like maybe the mayor, the manager, and HR try to start the wordsmithing process and then bring it back to us?
Does that sound doable, Mr. Manager? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So essentially with this paragraph, we're trying to keep all our options open, whether or not they have a degree or not. That's I guess how I would say it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Best.
And if I can say that for myself, the only things that I had concern with was that minimum requirement aspect. I want to make sure that we open it up as best that we can. I don't have any problems with the salary range, but I know that some cities are, everything is going up. And I want to make sure that we open it up so that we also have enough tools in our toolbox, and that we don't have to restart this if we get a very minimum amount of individuals, because we also have our proximity of where the manager must live, and that's actually in this portion here. So I'd like to discuss the where the city manager must live requirement per the charter. So that's something that, is that something that we would need to have a charter change before we could alter it? So it's something that we can't actually address this round? We'd actually have to put it out to the voters and get a charter change?
Yes, but I think the restriction also is when you hire somebody, they have to live within the required area within 180 days.
Correct.
So if we're getting close, but
Good, because that's the only other thing, the 3 items that I see of being of any kind of contention, that location, the minimum requirements, and the salary. And other than that, I think that's, if we need to open it up a little bit, say to 155, 125 to 155, I don't have a problem with that. If we want to put language in there, stipulating, the requirements of the charter to live within inside city limits within 180 days, make sure that that's very specific. And then that's a discussion we start up about taking it to the voters about having it adjusted. And if they were to be hired outside of that area, they would have to understand that it would go to the voters and that it might fail and it might not fail. We did that with, I believe, the clerk's office. I think we had to take it. I think it was also a charter change that we had to do. Yeah. And it was this is our best guess. Now you just gotta hope that the voters go with it, so.
Yeah. Councilman Tudor.
Just to clarify, so on the charter, does it stipulate that the city manager must reside in the city, with the city limits within 180 days in this case, or did it just say they have to live in city limits? Because I wonder if we could extend that and give people more time, just in case the housing market's not driving right, or if that would still need to
I
go to
believe
voters.
it's just required to live within the city limits, and
Okay.
then,
Okay, so we do have some wiggle room, at least with the timeline, if anything. Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Well,
We set the timeline.
Okay, Councilman Alcantra, trying to go in order here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along with what Councilmember Best said, I mean, that's, what was provided to us was an announcement that came out several years ago, and I like where he's going with the upper end of the annual salary, maybe increase, I mean, 155, it starts it, and maybe even 160, 165, give ourselves some room. I can tell you that at AML, the folks that I talked to, when I mentioned that, we were looking for a new city manager eventually, and kind of this ballpark salary, it was like, nah, it's not. They wouldn't consider moving from even a like-sized city or a smaller city to Palmer. So I think 125 is certainly a low end, and it'd be nice to have the wiggle room that Councilmember Best talked about.
Councilwoman Moline? You're good? Okay. Councilman Cooper?
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize for this, that I maybe should know this information. So we have 125 to 145. What do our directors make? And how does the manager stack up with the pay of our directors? Do the directors make more than the manager? They don't.
Okay.
Not close.
Councilman Alcantra?
In all fairness, we did just give the top end people sizable raises that are gonna, over time, make that, depending on how long they've been on the job, they'll be at the higher end. They may not be quite at 145, but they'll be at around 140. So I don't have that pay scale in front of me, but I know it's there.
Mr. Manager?
Potentially the top end when nobody is there. Yeah.
Nobody's there.
The very most they can make right now is 153.
153.
And that would be very, very close to the current guy.
Okay.
So this is part of your wordsmithing.
Yeah, apparently. You're taking notes, right, Mr. Manager?
Yes, exactly.
Councilman Alcantra?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I don't know if it's time now to even discuss this, but there was a page 104 talks about a proposed hiring process. And I don't want to go ultra religious on anybody, or Exodus 35:2 or anything, but these interviewees selected, and these interviews are Sundays, and Sundays are pretty verboten to me. So I just wondered if these
are from
dates-
2020. So
Oh,
we just
thank
took
you.
the same
Thank you.
right
Okay.
out of 2020.
Thank
so.
you. Woo. All right. I was thinking we're gonna have special meetings on Sunday nights.
I'm glad someone's paying attention to weekends.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for setting my.
So no, this is just a starting point, and this is like the whole packet. I said, great. This is a
Beautiful.
good.
Thank you. This is the idea.
So we can basically direct the manager and the mayor to work with HR and probably bring it back to our next meeting. Is there no objection to that?
Well, actually,
Go ahead.
back to that same page. Where
Sure.
we talked about announcements posted, and having a better sense of the recruiting processes. Is there anything else that we need to be, like Indeed or anything like that? We need to make sure that, I don't know if there's any.
Where to advertise?
well, Yeah, I mean, I trust our HR to make the determination of what are the best platforms to use. I don't necessarily think that, going out on Indeed or, all of those, are the best places, but we're trying to cast a wide net, so I trust her to make those decisions as far as who would be the best resources,
And we can ask her, say, hey,
Yeah.
is there anything you would change on this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay. So we have consensus to hurry up, get the manager and the mayor to working? Okay,
Yes, we do.
so, where's my agenda? I guess we're done with that item for now, and record of items placed on the table,
Documents from Jackie Goforth.
okay? And audience participation. You have up to 3 minutes. Please start with your name.
Travis, I live in Palmer, and you forgot my pamphlets that I. Oh, I didn't hear. So it's all right. Okay. Well, anyway, I've talked to the airport people, and I've been requesting that they should also consider in bringing in an actual airport terminal to the valley, so that I won't have to go into Anchorage and fly. If I want to fly, there's only one way, is to go to Anchorage, and I kind of vow to myself that unless absolutely necessary, I will never ever go back to Anchorage. So please really consider about bringing some kind of a airport terminal. We could use some of the local airlines like Raven Alaska or Ryanair, or something like, and even Alaska Airlines if they can. And I've also heard that, with the ski talk and all other activities, it would be a good way to attract people to the valley, and also get more traffic into the airport. Just a thought.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation? Just filling that blank space.
Okay, I'm back. Mike Malevsky, downtown Palmer. You're talking about something I spent a long time looking at. There's a book I can recommend, which is entitled Judgment Under Uncertainty. There are two guys, Tversky and Kahneman, that wrote this book many years ago. But in the process, they describe how difficult it is to predict how someone will be when they move into a new position. And maybe you've experienced this. So my sense about what you're talking about is two things. One, I think the debate about the dollars is critical. It's like selling your house. You place it at the wrong price and nobody comes, or nothing happens. So there's got to be thought about that, and I think your HR director and looking out at the market can help with that. And then once you have attracted people, then all of the detail boils down to, in my experience, having sat up there and watched people come before you, is how do they relate to you? What do you feel about this person? And all of the specifics about their job experience and so on might be a part of the game. And whether it's a bachelor's degree in one place or another, they've done this or not. But I've observed that people, whether here or in the assembly and the school board, have been more focused on how do I connect with the person, because, as you've all pointed out, a person who's going to be sitting in John's chair is someone you're going to have to work with on a regular basis and offer, take this and run with it, and you have to be confident in that person. So I think when it comes to that point and you actually have people up here, that's something that I would believe, since you are so diverse, And the beauty of it is you have a diverse sense of how you connect to different people, but you all have to come to agreement that this person is someone I can work with. Regarding a bachelor's degree or not, there's all kinds of evidence around that. And a lot of it boils down to saying, if someone has gone through a program and you can identify what the program's about, they have demonstrated that they are able to do something over a long period of time, which is really what you want your manager to do, not just manage on a momentary basis. Whether that's necessary, you can decide that. So I just offer those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for audience participation?
Hi, Susan Powger. I just wanted to let you know that it's, of course, a new year, and for this new year, one of my goals is to look at the bright side, look at the happy things that happen and the good things in our lives. So for the library, one of the good things is you haven't had a person sitting here telling you that they were forced to check out a book from the library and read it, and that book was bad, or that book was pornographic. You haven't had a person sitting here telling you that their child got a book from the library, that the child was unattended at the library, or that the parent didn't agree with the book that the child checked out unattended, and that their child is scarred. All of the things that you have heard are from the internet and from people searching on the internet, looking for things that could possibly scar unattended, unparented children as they come into your library. So the good news is you haven't had somebody here complaining for that, and I hope we have a good 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. You might need those.
I will need those. Driving.
Someone else for audience participation.
Hello, Eric Anderson from Palmer. There's a couple things that I came here specifically tonight to talk about, and the one that's on my mind that I feel is most important right now is the traffic going up the hill, Bailey Hill, and there was another accident, actually two yesterday, turning into Cedar Hills and the new Cedar Park. And the reason is DOT comes down the road 35, 40, 50 miles an hour plowing snow, and the berms are so high that when people are pulling out into the traffic, they're meeting 55 mile an hour or more traffic coming down from Fishhook, and they instantly hit a vehicle that's trying to turn or trying to pull out, and it's very, very dangerous right now. What I didn't see on the plan was, or the capital fiscal budget plan idea, begging list, I should say, is some kind of funding or coordination with the DOT to try to get a turning lane or some street signals up there, or maybe with the borough. I know they're planning on building a new ambulance barn. I don't know if that's part of the plan with the traffic control. But as far as the Cedar Park community goes, they're adding what will be 82 new homes. And a traffic study basically that I did in my living room is if you average 2 cars per home, that's 164 cars leaving for work and 164 cars coming back. And that's additional to what's already in the neighborhood. So that's something that the city should be on the lookout for, is the traffic control going up and down Bailey Hill, both directions, Eagle Street, all those streets are susceptible to high-speed collisions. Also, the airport, I feel down the road, eventually we're gonna have a hub here, and eventually, I think the airport and enterprise fund will also be kind of like its own little employer in itself. And I feel we're gonna have a couple full-time, probably a few full-time employees there year-round maintaining that. I think we sub out the lawn mowing now. That'll probably turn into like a city position under the Airport Enterprise Fund. And also, lastly, I just want to say that the snowplow removal this snowfall, this last event, is significantly better than the one before that. And I know that there's been a lot of concern with the city voicing in their opinions about it, and it takes time to get things better. But in all reality, what it comes down to is we need more people on these emergency events, and we need more equipment, and that takes money. And one thing I haven't heard from the city council in the last couple of years is how are we going to increase our revenue stream from just balancing the budget? We gotta grow so we can help the city grow, and that's up to the city council to do. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close audience participation. There is no executive session, so council member comments. We'll start with the quietest one, which tonight would probably be Councilwoman Moline.
Okay, this is like the fourth time I've had to go first. Not that I'm counting, but in all seriousness, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. Seems like the mayor and I caught little gifts from our Petri dishes of grandkids that were around, but we love them anyway. And I just want to say I'm really impressed by our public safety tonight, our police officers that were here, and congratulations, Chief Shelton, on your success. You know, the addition of a sergeant as well as a new officer, so that's quite impressive. And I look forward to hearing more from you in the future in regards to the need for the public safety building and why that is so critical and important. And I just want to keep that fresh on everyone's mind. The other thing, I'm really impressed by the turnout tonight and everyone that was involved with the airport and their desires and what their overall need is, but just that whole, bringing together of those wonderful business owners who are the rock of this community, who were able to come together and basically say, hey, here's what we can partner with you on, and here's what we can afford, and here's what we're willing to have skin in the game on. And so that is very much appreciated from that group of people who have really been integral in our community for so long. One thing I would like to ask for support in, and I'm probably going to fumble this just a little bit, but one of the asks tonight was to take a look at those leases out there at the airport and why that they're structured the way that they are, and why the borough has a percentage of that, and if there's any leeway there for those leases and the taxes. Maybe perhaps there's a valid reason for that, but I'd like to ask for support that maybe perhaps the city attorney take a look at that and see if there's room for renegotiating that with the borough, or if there's opportunity for us to reallocate some of that.
I think we could ask the attorney to work with the manager.
Okay. Okay.
For the record, she has been going through the leases
Beautiful.
and looking at those already.
Okay.
Spending a lot of time. The question came, it's like yourself, unless you're like Mike Molesky, who has a senior exemption. Sorry, Mike, for calling you out. We pay, if you're here, you pay approximately 10 mils to the borough, 3 mils to the city. Same with the airport. We get the 3 mils, but the borough gets the 10 mils. So the question is why do they get that 10 mils when we're serving? So that would be a point of discussion. I think we have a very good friend in the mayor's office, and that might be worth a future discussion, specifically for the airports. But please remember, if we ask, that little town to the west of us could be an ally, because they know how to beat their chest and demand. Much better than we can and do.
Okay, so.
Is there anything else?
That's it for me. Just great discussion tonight, and I just appreciate everybody's participation.
Okay.
Who do you have support? Who was her second? Who's her support?
I will second that.
Support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the manager will help us do some conversations. So Deputy Mayor Anzalati, speaking of quiet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was surprised it wasn't me first, actually. I did also want to congratulate Chief Shelton on the new officer and Mike Lynch being promoted to sergeant. I went on a ride along with him last year, and it was a great experience, and I was really impressed with his professionalism and skill, and I would recommend that to anybody. It was a very enjoyable, surprisingly, time. And I'm also really thankful, like Councilmember Moline mentioned, and also I think Councilmember Best kind of said a little bit about it, just seeing our community come together and knowing that they can approach us and work together to get issues fixed in the city. So I'm thankful for that. I also wanted to mention that I will not be here February 27th because I'll be on my honeymoon. And my fiance comes back from deployment in 2 days, so I'm sorry if I'm a little distracted tonight. So thank you.
All right.
So you're not honeymooning in Palmer, you're saying?
And I don't think she's going to Juneau for the conference either.
It's a little too windy for me at this time of year.
Councilman Best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, it was a pleasure to, be the voice of council in that meeting, to at least more of the ear of council, and just kind of give my opinions off of the code. And like I said, to watch the city administration perform as they did, to be available to those businesses. I think it was productive. Also, I've been seeing some Facebook ads recently touting some redesign of bunny boots, and that's being done here in downtown Palmer. And for those of you that did not know, that Airframes Alaska, one of our businesses manufacturing down in Palmer here, has rebranded themselves into Alaska Gear Company, and that's one of their products, is that they have redesigned the old military bunny boots and are producing them in Palmer and selling them around the world right now. And so you want to talk about people that are innovators. We have had, over the years, a few manufacturers that have had impact at a national and world-class level. And I want to say that, continue to spur these ideas and these having a community that businesses are wanting to invest in and wanting to produce in is a great thing. I think it bodes well as to how we've governed and has maintained a kind of a fiscally conservative look on how we provide services, and that we are all living amongst it. And so we have to do better because we want to be better. And so continue to be better. And this year is going to be another banner year for us.
Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. Thank you. Chief, it's good to be on the council and seeing some of the senior officers or seasoned officers that kind of were recruited when we first both started here, and still see them on the force, and then of course and see Tom and stuff. And so, good job, and keep it up. A couple other things just on some comments that were made throughout the meeting. For Travis, the Alaska Food Bank in Anchorage supports 140 additional food banks throughout the state, including tribal food banks. And they do collect food, and our Palmer Food Bank also collects food from the grocery stores as well. And maybe it's not all of it, but certain items that they can and can't use that they go through. On the convoluted issue of sidewalks. As you might know or might not know, the issue is the city owns the first 3 feet of the sidewalk. The businesses own the remainder. And so that becomes the problem. And not all and the city doesn't own all of the sidewalks, and the businesses don't own all the sidewalks as well. But so when you get in front of Palmer Bar, you get in front of Just So, you get in front of, Vagabond Blues, they have an 8-foot sidewalk. The city has 3 feet. Now the business has the 5 feet. What do they do with that 5 feet of snow? Do they put it on 3 feet and go, hey, this is city property? It's up to you to now take care of it. And I'm sure that we're gonna be working out a solution that, give them a time and a date, say, okay, the snow goes on the sidewalk or on the street, we're gonna come by and pick it up. It's I'm sure it's not a silver bullet, but I'm sure we'll get there. The other issue is just a question, maybe the city manager of, Special Olympics is coming up in a couple months. What is the city's involvement in Special Olympics here? Are we doing anything?
The Arctic Winter Games, I think.
Yeah, sorry, Arctic Winter Games. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
So yes, we are part of that. We are hosting the curling at the MTA Center. Activities are occurring at the high school and junior high. They're housing the kids there. They have a full program. There's availability for volunteers, that sort of thing. We'll be working with the chamber to try to have some public activities during that time. Those have not been developed yet. But this is really a once-in-a-generation opportunity for us. But primarily, there is a big organization that is kind of running the show, and we're pretty much in a support role for this event.
Okay. The reason I ask is, obviously, there's a lack of maybe information that's out throughout the city that people don't know. And I've been asked, what's the city doing with the Arctic Winter Games? And I go, I don't know, because I don't see anything, no advertisements, nothing on our webpage, nothing. So if it comes up that we eventually have more information, if we could put it out for the general public.
That'd be a good idea. What we'll do is we will just have a link to the Arctic Winter Games website with all that information.
Okay. And I hope everybody had a good holiday and have a great 2024. Thank you.
Councilman Alcantara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy New Year to everybody. It was great Christmas time, and as was mentioned earlier today by my Jocelyn Lane neighbor, Gino Delfrade, much better snow removal this year than last year, even though we've had, one can argue, similar amounts of snow, probably less wind. So Mr. Delfrade is probably the best Jocelyn neighbor now that Councilmember Best moved away. Guy to the right of me is moving up. The guy to the right of me is moving up quick, though. He's probably in second place. So got some great neighbors there on Jocelyn. So I wanted to say congrats to Shelley. That's an awesome accomplishment, and I know the mayor applauded you, but I wanted to applaud you for making that happen. Thanks to the testifiers today. There's some great information. And so I know Mr. Anderson knows you always listen, and Travis, we always listen to you, but I can tell you, man, when I make that turn to take my daughter to Wood and Wire across from Eagle Street, I just hope and pray every time there's not somebody texting or eating their cheeseburger or doing something and is going to ram right into me when those other cars are coming down the hill at 55 and we're dead stop trying to make that turn into Wood and Wire up there. So I don't get to Cedar Hills very often, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So other than that, last thing I would say is, Dr. King's birthday is Monday. You mentioned the Massey Theater 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Monday. They're going to have some great stuff up there. It's actually the last holiday I get until Memorial Day, so I expect I'm going to make sure I'm out there at that event, because I was not only impressed with the folks that were here tonight at council, but just impressed with the things they put on in the past out there. So if you got time on Monday, 1 to 4, Massey Theater, I hope you'll consider making it out there. That's all for me. Thanks, everyone.
Now for the loudest one, Councilman Tudor.
Chief, just wanted to read what everyone said. You have a well-run department. And same thing for Public Works. It's amazing to see how well they've done with these massive snow dumps that we've been getting so far. And it's really great to see. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out, especially in support of the airport. I think the airport is a huge economic driver for our city. It's a big part of the city, and I think it's going to continue to grow. And everything we do to foster those positive relationships with those leaseholders of the airport and the people that use the airport is going to be really good for the whole city. And I look forward to seeing that come up. And Councilman Betts, I just want to say that was a good thing to bring up about the company that used to be Airframes Alaska, but now Alaska Gear. That's really good because that type of entrepreneurship is really important for our city, and we need to really do everything we can to help foster those businesses to give them the support they need to be able to grow and expand and provide good jobs for our citizens. Thank you.
And I'll just say that it was back before Christmas that the deputy mayor was calling me and asking me questions about the airport and snow removal, and I was just gonna say kudos, very, very good to follow up and going out and checking out the airport. You know, I know everyone, we get to listen to our constituents, but it's good when you follow up. And we're adjourned.
Bye, Sarah.
No, 8:44, 8:45.
Bye. Have a good evening, all.
Sorry, I had to give you kudos.
What?
Just had to give you some kudos. Well, you're like you're bugging me.